Hello friends, welcome back. And if you're new here, my name is Meg. I post free hair education every single Monday. And this week we are doing this beautiful raccoon tail hair. So let's go back a little bit. This was our first appointment, episode 45, back in September. It was a huge color correction. And this is what we had at the end of that. I actually used her as a model for my color correction class. This was our second appointment in December 2025 and what she came back with and then what she left with. We got so much more of that blue out. Episode 46, if you want to check it out, this is what it looked like underneath with the hidden rainbows. And then this is what we are starting with today. This is end of March 2026. And you can still see some of those rainbows, especially the blues hiding out. We've got a lot of regrowth ready to be lightened. So as always, before anything, I'm getting her prepped with water and then my K18 Molecular Repair Hair Mist. You always want to wet the hair just a little bit with the water because that's going to open up the cuticle so that the molecular repair mist can be better absorbed into the hair. Also, speaking of K18, last week there was a really cool announcement and I am officially a K18 pro artist. I've been in the collective for like 5 years and now I am like an official indie educator with them and it's super exciting. But let's get into the lightening process. I am using my new favorite mixture for platinum retouch like this, which is powder and cream lightener mixed together. I am starting with 10 volume and then I have a second bowl that I moved up to 20. But first I am tracing out my section and kind of outlining it, being very careful to stay off of the pink hair and just making my little outline around. Now, the reason that I have started using the powder mixed with the cream lightener, so the cream is a lot more gentle and then the powder lightens a lot faster. So I also like using cream lightener for something like platinum retouch because it stays wet and then it's not going to dry out like a powder lightener would. So really, if you're not using foils or something, it's always best to use a cream lightener unless you want it to dry out like a clay lightener and you're doing balayage, which is different. But we don't want powder lightener to dry. So it still stays wet when I mix a little bit of that cream in there and it processes a lot faster than just the cream lightener. So I really like using this, but I am just taking everything starting at the top, really fine slices, and I'm kind of going back and forth side to side so that everything is even. Now, somebody with less hair, I would probably just take horizontal slices all the way across doing one section, but she has so much hair, so we really have to go 2 different sides and different sections. And I am just hitting all of that new growth and trying really hard to stay off the pink. And it's another great thing about this lightener is that it doesn't swell. So wherever you put it, that is where it's going to stay. But I am just taking these super fine sections. You want to be able to see through them, pull it really nice and tight so that there's no crinkles and no being like bunched up in the hair and just pulling it straight back. You can see how I really tug on that section to make sure that it's really nice and straight. And then I cover both sides with the lightener before I lay it down, just so that I know I'm getting really good saturation. Now, episode 46 is very similar to this one as far as the lightening goes. I think I even did less speed up in that one, but I kind of just want to get through this because this is already a long video. But I want you guys to be able to see exactly how I would section out a platinum retouch on roots this long and on hair this thick and long. So now if somebody was a level like 1, 2, 3, 4, I definitely would not just be lightening them like this. I would have to go through with foils. Otherwise, there would be banding. I already know that Dulcie's hair is going to lift amazing and I won't have to worry worry about that because she's not that dark. Like I said, it might look dark, but it's really not. And she lifts so quick without any banding. So yes, if somebody had darker hair or coarser hair or maybe hair that doesn't lift as easily, I would be using foils. This would be a full-on platinum card, but I knew that it was going to be perfectly fine doing this way. And we've already done it once before, so. But I am just being super careful, as you can see, to stay off of the old previous blonde hair. And then really feathering up, hitting everything. And you can see how tight I pull this section when I bring it back. And I make sure everything is really straight. That is so important when you're doing something like this. Color both sides, pull really, really tight and straight. And cover everything dark. And you can see that I'm kind of making a triangle in the back. So everything is going to meet at this triangle in the very bottom at her nape after I get through all of this back hair. And that's going to work out perfectly because once I get to that little triangle at the bottom, I'm going to leave it alone and I'm going to go do her top and front. And then at the very end, I'm going to come through and do those hairs at the very bottom in her nape because those are going to lift super quick. So I like doing those last and I am just going to be saving them. So you can see here, it's already starting to form into that little triangle, but we've still got quite a bit to go. She's got a lot of hair, but we are going to just keep on taking our really fine sections. And you can already see the hair that we started with is turning so blonde already down that middle part, and we aren't even through the back yet. And we only used a 10 volume, so she lifts really quick. And the Danger Jones lightener, when you mix that cream with the powder, lifts so much faster than the cream by itself, like I was saying before. You can see I've got those sections so thin you want to see through. And then just keep on taking my little diagonal slices. Staying off the previous blonde hair and going up. It's also nice to have a paintbrush like this that has a rat tail on the bottom instead of plastic because it is much easier to grab those really thin sections. Sometimes when you have that plastic bottom on your color brush, you can't really grab as straight or even of a section. So I like having these ones with the rat tail comb when I'm doing something like this. And this one is from Framar. It's got a really nice sturdy bristle to it. And then I'm just going to leave this little triangle when I get down to the very bottom of her nape, just like I was saying before. And then look at that. She is like already platinum on the top. Isn't that crazy? She lifts so quickly. So now I'm going to be doing the same thing in the front, but I'm pulling everything back. And I am just going to be lightening all of that new growth in these vertical, super fine sections, heading toward the front of her face. Should be able to see through those, pulling them really nice and tight, and coloring on both sides. That is so important so that you know you're going to have really good saturation. You don't want to see any of that brown. And then I am not going to show both sides. I don't think you need to see me doing the exact same thing. And like I said, episode 46 has pretty much the exact same placement and technique. So you can really watch either of them. But we will just be lightening all of this. And you can see how perfectly, as soon as I lay it down, you know that it's not overlapping. Everything is lined up nicely. And I did not have to worry about any breakage. Also, her ends, she had braids in. So don't judge her crinkled ends because she came in with braids and stuff. So, but we are just making our way up. And the reason I like doing it like this is because the very last hairs that I'm going to hit is everything around her hairline in the front and around her nape in the back. Those are the two most sensitive areas. The hair is a lot finer there, it lifts a lot faster, and it breaks a lot easier. So I really like saving all of this hair in the very front and those little hairs in the nape until the very end. All right, looking super cute, but we've got all of that lightener in now. And then after I finish up, I like to go through and just cross-check a little, going in my sections and making sure that everything is tapped and lifting really nicely. And I just kind of make my way through. I am pretty much a perfectionist, so I can't leave something alone and just walk away from it. I have to dig into it and make sure everything's perfect. But look at how nice that is lifting. I am just going through and making sure that I hit any little spots that may need a little bit more lightener. But it is looking beautiful so far. All of these front pieces are platinum and ready to go. Now I wanted to use a little color remover because we want to try to get not only some of these old blue rainbows out, but I also want to remove a little bit of the color from the top of her head so that we can do the raccoon tails. So in order to do the raccoon tails, we need blonde, but I already told her, like, I don't think we're going to get blonde. We may have like light pink in between the raccoon tail, but I don't think that we are going to see blonde today. So let's not push the hair too much. And she liked that idea. So I am just going to try to remove some of those old rainbows and some of the color that's on the top layer of her hair. This is the Danger Jones color remover also, and I am using 10 volume developer. And here is just getting a little bit on those top layers where I'm gonna have some raccoon tails. And then after I shampooed her out in the bowl, I did a little bit more, you can see here. And she really has that like peachy color now. So a little bit more of the Danger Jones color remover. And this is what we ended with. You definitely could still see some of those old rainbows in there, but I was not worried about it because I knew it was just gonna maybe look a little deeper or purpley in the pink, but it was gonna be fine. So here is her beautiful hair, nice and lifted, color remove, and we are gonna take some sections right here. These are gonna be our raccoon tails. So I'm almost doing like a square inch on both sides, right behind her fringe. And then I'm doing the same thing in the back so that we have 4 little chunks, like about square inch chunks, 1, 2, 3, 4 around the head. And then I'm going to use my backwards bib to keep her nice and clean. And I am going to be using 100 grams of Hustler, 60 grams of Diablo, 20 grams of Lovesick, and 8 grams of Dopamine for her pinkish reddish burgundy color. This, yes, was the same formula from episode 46, but she really liked it, and so that is what we did. And what I like to do first is go through and hit all of those roots. So I am just gonna speed this up because this is pretty easy. She is just shampooed out, no conditioner, but I did use the K18 leave-in mask and let it sit for 4 minutes before we applied. But I am just putting all of this on the roots first where that new blonde is. And then after I get everything onto the base in the back, I am going to melt it down into her mids and ends. But first, just hitting all that new blonde. And also making sure to take really nice thin sections. It's so important, especially when you're working with semis, to really saturate and take really tiny thin sections on the root. So once you move down, then you can have a little bit of a bigger section when you're doing your color melts and your blending, because as you move down the length of the hair, the density is going to get like less, it's going to get thinner. So it kind of works a lot easier in. Like right here, I can take a bigger section than when I'm just painting on the roots and I have to take a super baby fine one. But you can see how much time I spend really making sure to saturate and blend down. So nothing too crazy here. I am just using that exact same formula and melting everything down. You can see how I pull the hair apart in my section to make sure that it's covered. Pulling it apart, blending, and saturating. Just keep on adding more. And if you feel like you are overworking a semi-permanent hair color to where it's getting really white and like conditioner-ish, so just slap more color on there. I promise you, you'll be fine. So you don't want to overwork it, but you don't want to undersaturate. So just keep on slapping that new color on there. And just making our way through here. Now, if you look on my tray, you will see that I have another bowl with like a neon pinkish color. So I'm putting that through some of the ends that are a little more blonde because we can't have blonde, but Dulcie wanted to have some kind of fun color, like lighter color in there. And so I did a little bit of a lighter neon pink through here, just to kind of give it mild dimension, but she has so much hair, it's like you can barely see it underneath the raccoon tails. But it was super cute hiding under there. But I am just kind of adding a couple panels of that neon pink, which was Lovesick and Hustler mixed together. But I really only did a few panels with that pink because I knew that her hair just wasn't that light. And so I knew we were going to get better results using the darker color. And it just wasn't going to be blonde, especially having all that old blue in there. And we kind of need that darker color to help cancel out that blue. But I feel like this is pretty easy right here. You really can't get this wrong. We are just super saturating everything. Like I said, moving that section around, moving the hairs around, making sure that everything is covered. I use a ton of product so that I know everything is saturated. And now, as soon as we are done with these, we can start with our raccoon tails. So I am using these plastic sheets. You can use foil, you can use mesh, whatever you want, but I am going to use plastic sheets today. And first I'm doing a little on her base, just so that it drags down and doesn't just start with the raccoon tail. I wanted a little bit of a base into the raccoon tail. And now I'm using these really tiny detail brushes. And this one right here is Cyclone mixed with conditioner. So Cyclone is the light silver color from Danger Jones. And I mostly just wanted it to kind of neutralize and just be like a barrier almost. So I could have just done straight silver, but I didn't want it to be like too icy. So I wanted it to just kind of blend with everything else and create a barrier in between our red stripes. So on this first one, it's going to be the only time that I go back and forth using the silver and then using the red. But I wanted to plan out everything first. And then after this, then I can go through and just do all the silver at one time and all the red at one time. So it is much quicker after you get through that first one. But I'll speed it up a little bit. And both of these brushes are super tiny detail brushes. I think they come in handy big time when you're doing projects like this. And this is also pretty much exactly like my rainbow prism videos and even the rainbow that I did on her the last time, where we are just doing little tiny lines and then going down. The only difference is this one is only 2 colors and the other one was an entire rainbow. But now that we have our first one, we take that small section and lay it down nice and flat. I like to start with the base just to kind of get it attached and down onto my sheet. Really smooth that hair down, and then I'm going to start with my barrier and go through and hit all of the silver areas first. This is going to ensure that I don't get red on there because, like I said, it creates a barrier. So it's really going to help keep our lines nice and separate. But I'm just hitting all of that in between space with my silver color, and then I can go through and use my red color. Perfect. All right, so I also added Brazilian Bond Builder into my color. I did not mention that yet, but that is always in my Vivid formulas. It's going to help with strength and longevity. A lot of times, especially after you get done with a bleaching service, there's a lot of porosity issues. And so I feel like it really helps with porosity issues as well, and making sure that the color takes nice and even. So I always use B3 in my Vivid formulas. And another super exciting thing, while I paint these raccoon tails, I will put up a little flyer for it and talk about on May 17th, I have a class coming up here in San Diego. It is at 783 Main Hair Lounge in El Cajon, which is basically just inland San Diego a little bit. So if you are in the area and a hairstylist, a cosmetology student, you're trying to get more knowledge and you'd like to take one of my classes in person, there are, I believe, 7 tickets left. We've already sold like 17 tickets, and the gift bags are going to be amazing from Danger Jones, K18, and Alkali Beauty. So I highly recommend going to the link in my bio and getting your tickets for our class. Also, the other super exciting thing is Hair Rocker Bet, who will be doing the class with me. She is my good friend, and she is from Cleveland, Ohio. She is also in the Danger Jones crew, and I know her from our little retreats in Cancun and different hair shows. And for a couple years now, we have been saying, like, you got to come to San Diego and we got to do a class together. And we finally made it happen. So I cannot wait to do this class with her. And like I said, if you're in the area, please come check it out. It's going to be so much fun, and tickets are almost sold out. So you can find those at the link in my bio. And now we are on to our second raccoon tail, as you saw while I talked about the class. But see how much easier it is to just go through with the one color first, so that you don't have to just keep dropping the paintbrush and picking up the other one and dropping and picking up. So much easier to just hold onto one and go through. And I always like to start with my lighter colors first. Just like if I was doing a rainbow and I had to melt them with my hands, I always like to get the yellow on there first. And then I love showing right here. She's so excited. And now we're going to go to this side, doing the exact same thing. I am saturating all of that blonde hair with my dark red color, doing a little bit of a pink panel there because it was nice and blonde. But the rest of it, everything is pretty much just our deep burgundy, pinkish red color. Also, it is crazy how red it looks right now because it is not going to be like that, obviously. But I am just getting all of this all the way to her front and leaving out my little 1 square inch section so that we can do the raccoon tails up front. And of course, my phone died when I got to the other side, but I feel like you guys get the idea. We started painting and finishing it up, and then afterwards I was like, oh dang, my phone died. So at least we got most of it. But I'm doing the same thing in the front now, starting with my barrier and then coming in with my red. It's gonna look so cool. Oh, I just love the pink on her, and I love everything we've done so far. But I was obsessed with these raccoon tails. As soon as she said she wanted them, I was like, let's go. Painting all my barrier and then coming through with the red. So I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments for me. I love talking to you guys and answering any questions that I can, but I feel like this one's pretty easy. You just really want to make sure to keep your sections really small so that everything is saturating. And then I also like to lift up my clear plastic, which is another reason I like the clear, because I can see underneath it, just to make sure that everything looks like it's saturated. And I am just getting all of this on this side now. And I can't remember when my phone's going to die, but it is going to die very soon. So all of this is pretty much the same on all the different sides though. So at least we got the good stuff. She just has so much hair that my phone was like, okay, I'm done. All right, here it comes. And this is what it looked like when we were all done. Absolutely beautiful. And here is our after. Oh, I am so obsessed with the raccoon tails on her. And like I said, they aren't really like blonde. They're more like icy light pinky. And I love the color they turned out to be. And even though there's those little hints of blue hiding in there, it doesn't look bad at all. It kind of blends in with the raccoon tails. So I'm not mad about it at all. I think it looks incredible. Oh, she just looks so great with this. I feel like she's meant to have pink hair. It's one of those things where every time you do that client's hair, you're like, this is my favorite one we've ever done. And even though it's only the third, we were both like, yep, this is the favorite now. It just looks so cool. And then the wind was a paid actor there. So good. But I love how it's just those tiny little blocks on top, but it makes such a huge impact. Isn't that crazy? So just remember, it's all about placement. You don't need to do a ton to get a big impact. Those were those little tiny square inch sections on top. And here are some of my favorite shots. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me for another tutorial. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you next week. Bye.